In some ways, it's easy to look at this fight and say, we got exactly what we expected to get. A victory from Canelo. I don't think there was anybody out there who was predicting Ryder to come away, somehow upset the apple cart, come out with this huge victory in Mexico against Canelo. Right? Basically, for him to come out with a victory, he was going to have to get a knockout. Nobody was coming out there thinking he was going to score the knockout. So we got exactly what we thought. Canelo walks away with his arm raised. He's still the man. But one of the things that I said going into this was it wasn't just about whether or not he was going to get his arm raised. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew that. Everybody predicted that that's what's going to happen. It was more about how he was going to look. We've been having some questions coming into this fight. We've been looking at him recently and saying, hey, Canelo isn't the man today that he used to be. He's fatiguing a little bit in fights. Not quite as explosive as he used to be. Catching a little bit more shots from his opponents than he used to. We saw him get the loss against Bivol. We saw him not look that great against, even in a victory against Triple G. So then he comes out here tonight, and what did we see? To be perfectly honest, I think we saw more of the same. I think we saw more of the same. Now, before I break down the fight, allow me to say two things here. Number one, what an entrance. Man, Canelo in Mexico, what a ring walk. That's probably the best entrance or the best ring walk that I've ever seen. Man, it was out of control. They got 50,000 fans out there. The place is absolutely packed. Got the roof is open, fireworks going off, dude. The light show, the video that's going on. Canelo's coming out, dude, doing the slow walk. He's shadow boxing, man. That was something else. That was something else. Now, look, I'll always have a special place in my heart for the way Mike Tyson used to come out early in his career, man. Like he was coming up from the bowels of the arena, just a savage. Like he broke free from his chains. He's just wearing the towel with the hole in it coming up. It's like the fans are clawing over the top of him and everything. And he just came in there and lived up to everything that you expected him to be with an entrance like that, right? But there was something about that one tonight. So my hat's off. They know exactly what they're doing as far as ring walks and entrances are concerned in Guadalajara. And number two was that ring was the size of a postage stamp. Man, that thing was tiny. That was a tiny ring, and it was perfectly tailored for Canelo. Perfectly tailored for him to come out there and look good. So, as I alluded to in the build up to this one, we saw what we always saw from Canelo, man. We saw him come forward. We saw him apply pressure. We saw him try to land heavy shots, particularly with the left hook. He was trying to control distance with the jab. He was, getting a good angle with his lead foot, stepping off to the side and landing that right hand. But we also started to see the things that we've been starting to see from him. Dude, he got hit with a lot of uppercuts in there. He did not dominate the way he was supposed to. His intention was to come out there and get a knockout. He couldn't get the man out of there. Late in the fight, we saw him fatigue. We saw him get hit a lot more late in the fight than we're used to. We saw him not able to land with the power that we're used to. The entire fight, I venture to say that we don't see the explosiveness that we used to associate with Canelo. One of the things that he was always able to do was to control the gap, to control the distance. The majority of these fights that he's going into, he's the shorter fighter. He does not possess a reach advantage, but he's able to go out there and he's able to control the gap and he's able to control the distance, and he does it a variety of ways, right? It's the deceptive footwork that he uses, it's the feints and the head movement, it's the way he kind of snakes in and out a little bit, it's the way he's able to explode quickly and catch his opponent off guard. But that's not the things that we see him doing anymore, okay? A lot of wear and tear on that body, man. He turned pro a long time ago. He's been in a lot of fights. He's been in a tremendous amount of high-profile fights. He's been in there with some huge punchers. We've always known him as having a rock-solid chin. But, dude, all the training camps, all the sparring, all the fights, it's going to catch up with you eventually. And that's what we're seeing now. When you just look at his birth certificate, you don't think of Canelo as an old man. But when you look at all the time that he's put in the boxing ring and you look at all the wear and tear on his body, he's getting up there, man. He's old now. He's right up there. He is absolutely past his prime. So once again, he went out there tonight and he did exactly what he was supposed to do, is get the victory. But this was always about how he was going to look, and it was always about what was going to be next. And he's been very clear in exactly what he wants next. He wants to move back up to 175 pounds and he wants to challenge Bivol. Like, dude, what a competitor. What a competitor. We all saw what Bivol did to him. And this man wants to go back up to 175 and challenge him. I mean, very impressive, incredibly brave, bunch of heart. Nobody can ever say that Canelo's not a fighter, but if he does that, he's not going to win that fight. I don't think that he's got what he has, what's left in the tank to be able to pull that one off. Bivol is incredibly impressive, and he would be a tough out even if Canelo was at his absolute prime. And Canelo's not at his absolute prime, so we'll have to see if that eventually gets pulled off. I mean, Bivol keeps saying that he wants to come down to 168 and fight Canelo. Canelo's saying that's not an option. He wants to move up to 175. And the off chance that they can't end up coming to a conclusion, who knows what's next? I mean, is he going to step in there with Charlo? Is he going to step in there with Benavidez? I mean, Benavidez, what a beast. Big, tall, strong, long, super high work rate, constantly trying to apply pressure. On a Canelo that's starting to slow down, that is not as explosive, doesn't throw as many punches. And, you know, back in the day, Canelo would have been a huge favorite over David Benavidez. Is that what we would say now? If we knew that they were going to be fighting in September or October, even if Canelo came out in this fight and said, my hand, I was still a little bit unsure about it after getting the surgery 4 or 5 months ago, but now going into this next one, it's going to be rock solid and I'm going to be able to put it on. What would you put the odds at? What would the over-under on the rounds be? How do you think Canelo would look in that one? Right? Interesting questions. We're asking ourselves questions now about Canelo that we've never had to ask in the past. He's always went out there and looked incredibly impressive, and now we're seeing chinks in the armor. Now we're starting to see things that aren't one-offs. Now we're starting to see things that are consistently starting to show up in fights. So again, he went out there and did exactly what he was supposed to do tonight and come out with the victory, but the questions remain. So what did you guys think? Did you think he looked impressive tonight? And who do you think he's going to fight next? Is he going to be able to make that fight with Bivol? And just how good is he going to look against world-class competition? Which, if we're being honest with yourselves, Ryder isn't. Let me know what you guys think.